Using soft toy stuffing as a core for needle felting, should we do this? Hi, it's Pam Duthie and it's a Wednesday, so it's another crafting equipment and supplies review. Every Wednesday I make videos just like these, so if this is something you're interested in, don't forget, come back every Wednesday. People are often talking about finding cheaper fibres for core wool for their sculptures, and I've heard several mentions of using soft toy stuffing as a cheaper alternative. So I thought I'd give it a try to see if it's worth it, if it's going to save you money, and if it's easier to use compared to a normal core wool. So today I'm comparing it to the carded white Corriedale, which is reviewed in the cards up above. This is what I've been using of late. It's around about 160 odd for 100 grams. And so at around 360, I thought this bag was a fantastic deal. It's bigger than my head. It's a lot of fibre in here, but then when I actually looked closely, there's only 250 grams in here. So let's have a close look and see what it's really like. So the first thing I like to do when I'm looking at a new fibre to needle felt is look at the staple length, and this is just pulling it apart and restacking it gently so you can sort of find out how long the individual bits of fibre are. And doing this, it's showing me already that this fibre length, the staple length, is very, very short. It's just a few centimetres at most. It's hard to tell because it's so little that I can't actually do this test properly. So I decided to compare it in felting to some of the carded white Corriedale. I take off similar sections and I'm just going to roll it into a ball and felt it and see how it compares. So the very first thing I notice is rolling it into a ball is actually really quite difficult because the fibre lengths are so short. As I'm trying to pull round and hold it into one position, it's not holding its shape because the fibres are just slipping away from each other, rather than when you use a slightly longer staple length, it is almost holding itself in shape by the fact that the length of the fibre is going all the way round and holding it. With this, I'm really struggling to get it to hold into a nice dense shape, so I start kind of with a bigger ball than I'm into. And felting, it felts. It's not good or it's not bad. The needle's going in. I would say it's felting slightly less quickly than my core wool does. It's not terrible by any means. It does the job, but I'm not super impressed with it. In the same level of time with the same needle, it's gone down into a smaller ball, but that's because, as we can see, its packaged volume there's much less weight for the amount that you buy. So when you're taking out a similar volume looking amount, there's actually less of it, so it's going to felt down slightly smaller. It's also not as easy to get smooth, as I said, because these fibre lengths are so short. It's not smoothing itself. Like if I'm stabbing and something's got a long fibre length, then it almost tacks down one end and can pull down and hold the other end, whereas they're so short that you're having to sort of felt every individual bit, which makes it take a bit longer and it's a bit annoying. But it does do the job. And then I had a go at one thing I do a lot of is wrapping wireframe, so I thought I'd give a go with that. So you can see when I try and wrap it onto the pipe cleaner, what's happening again, because the staple length is so short, I can't put a whole lot of tension on it, else it's just going to separate up and just break into really short chunks. So it's hard to actually wrap it fairly tightly. And when I come to felt it, again, I'm having to do a lot more stabbing to get it to even hold in place. I have to stab along the whole length of the wool. With the cord that I tend to use, I'm able to wrap really, really tightly. And basically, if you weren't wanting to felt too much, you can wrap like that. It's all holding itself, and you really only need to just felt into the end to get it to hold. Personally, I like to felt the whole thing so it's needle felted instead of just wool wrapped. But you don't actually have to. You can just wind it neatly and then felt the ends to secure, and you certainly cannot do this with the stuffing filler, the soft toy filler. So I'm going to say on prices it's slightly cheaper than buying the core wool, but only a small amount. It's relatively easy to get in craft shops, whereas core wool you're probably going to have to order it in unless you live close to one of the wool suppliers. But I don't find it easier to work with. What I'll say is, if you're wanting to save money, have a wee bag beside you and collect all your offcuts of fleece that you're using, and then you can use that as a core in the very centre or something if you're wanting to save money. Just wrap that up tight, wrap a bit of fleece around it, and you've got a reasonable core for next to nothing. So if it's for saving money, I wouldn't use the stuffing. If it's for ease of felting, I certainly wouldn't be using it. So yeah, not approved by me. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that helped. If this is something you're interested in, don't forget, click on my wee face to subscribe and come back every Wednesday. Thank you so much.